I still remember the sound before I remember the words. Not the words themselves, those came later, but the sound of a room deciding I didn't belong. A pause, a few nervous laughs, the soft scrape of a chair as someone leaned back to enjoy the moment. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to step aside." I looked up from the counter slowly, not because I didn't hear him, but because I wanted to be sure I understood what was really being said. The man behind the desk didn't look angry. That was the part that stuck with me. He looked comfortable, like this was routine, like he'd done this before and nothing bad had ever happened to him for it. "This transaction doesn't make sense." He continued, tapping my card with one finger. "We don't usually process requests like this for people like you." People like you, that phrase has weight. Anyone who's ever carried it knows it lands heavier than an insult. It pretends to be polite while cutting deeper than honesty ever could. I stood there in a downtown financial office, dressed in glass and marble, holding a briefcase I'd carried through boardrooms on 3 continents, and suddenly I was being treated like I'd wandered in off the street. I could feel eyes on me, phones coming out, someone whispering. I smiled not because it was funny, but because I'd learned a long time ago that silence makes people reveal more than anger ever will. "I need to wire $2.1 million, I said calmly. "The deal closes in under an hour." He smirked, not even subtle. "Sure it does." That's when it hit me. Not embarrassment, not rage, recognition. I'd been here before. Not this building, not this man, but this feeling of being reduced to a surface-level assumption by someone who thought power lived on their side of the counter. To them, I was just a black woman in a navy suit, no entourage, no flash, no visible permission. What they couldn't see, what they didn't bother to look for, was the years behind me. The nights sleeping on office floors, the deals that fell apart, and the ones that changed entire markets. The company I built from nothing while being told repeatedly that people like me didn't run organizations like that. But I didn't say any of that, because real power doesn't announce itself, it waits. The manager came out next. She scanned the situation the way people do when they're deciding which side is safer. "There's a problem?" she asked. "Yes," the teller said quickly. "This woman is trying to wire a large sum and it doesn't align with her profile." Profile. I watched her face as she looked at my ID, my documents, not really reading them, just confirming what she already believed. "We have protocols," she said flatly, "for unusual activity. Unusual, like ambition, like confidence, like not knowing your place." My phone buzzed in my pocket. One message. Seller getting nervous. Deadline firm. I felt the clock start to tick louder in my chest. This wasn't about my pride anymore. There were jobs tied to this deal, families, futures, and here we were stalled because someone decided I didn't look like money. I could have raised my voice. I could have demanded respect. I could have done what they expected me to do, become emotional, become the stereotype that would justify everything they were doing. Instead, I took a breath. And I made a call. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet enough that the room had to lean in. "Hey," I said into the phone. "It's me, Code Red, Midtown Branch." That was it. I hung up and placed the phone face down on the counter. Nothing changed at first. They thought they'd won. But a funny thing happens when you stop explaining yourself. The wrong people start panicking. A man in a suit I hadn't noticed before shifted uncomfortably. Someone whispered, "Is that?" and didn't finish the sentence. The manager's posture stiffened. "What exactly do you do?" she asked me finally. I looked at her. Really looked at her, not with anger, not with triumph, just clarity. "I build things," I said, "and I pay my bills on time." The room went quiet. A few minutes later, someone new walked in. Different energy, different urgency. He glanced at my paperwork, once actually read it, and his face drained of color. He pulled the manager aside, whispered. Her confidence cracked like glass. "I wasn't aware," she said carefully. I nodded. "You weren't curious." That's the difference. They started apologizing then. Quietly at first, then all at once, offering offices, coffee, privacy. I declined all of it. Because here's the thing. Humiliation done in public doesn't get resolved behind closed doors. The transfer finally went through with 13 minutes to spare. Numbers moved, notifications pinged. The deal survived. But the moment had already passed. I closed my briefcase and stood up. The room parted instinctively now, like gravity had shifted. As I walked toward the door, the original teller finally spoke again, his voice small this time. "I didn't mean—" "I know," I said without stopping. "That's the problem. Outside the city sounded the same as it always does. Traffic, footsteps, life moving forward indifferent to individual reckonings. I stood there for a second, feeling the air, letting the adrenaline fade. I didn't feel victorious. I felt clear, because money didn't save me that day. And it didn't change how they treated me. It just exposed how quickly people decide who deserves dignity and who doesn't when they think no one important is watching. So here's what I want to ask you. Do you think people judge you by who you really are, or by what they assume you can afford? And if the power dynamics were reversed, would you have acted any differently? Let me know in the comments.